welcome in, wherever you're at, whatever you're doing. Thank you for listening, and thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Young Dad Podcast. I'm your host, Jay. Super excited to be back with you for another fantastic episode. If you're out there changing diapers, fighting the good fight, wrangling those kids for bedtime while you just have a headphone in, we appreciate you. We see you. If you're out riding the tractor and mowing the lawn, well, hey, make sure you're wearing your sunscreen at least, and go drink some water. You probably need it. So, without further ado, I'm going to introduce Coach Joe here from Level Up Dads. Joe, welcome to the show.
AJ, thank you.
Super excited to have you. Before we jump too far in, I do want to just shout out today's sponsor here at the top of the show. We're gonna shout out. Let's do Forefathers Clothing today. Forefathers Apparel absolutely changed the game for me. Every single day of the week, what I wear looks fantastic. These polos, they're lightweight, they're breathable, they're fun, they're bright, they're attention grabbers, they're conversation starters, they're everything you want in a single piece of clothing. And the best part about it, you look great in them. I'm not sporting one tonight because it's a bit hot and I didn't want to be wearing a polo while trying to chill out tonight and record. So, but regardless, you can go over to the link in the description and click the Forefathers link. You'll go to the website. Pick your polos, pick one for dad, pick one for you. If you have a son, pick one for you and your son or your daughter. Pick a hoodie, pick a hat, all the things. You save 20% off when you use code YoungDad at checkout. And that's going to be better than any coupon that you find on the site at any given time. And it's a great way to support the show. So without further ado, let me introduce Coach Joe here and a little bit about Level Up Dads. From what I understand it, you guys have taken the best of your in-person coaching and developed a simple and effective program for busy dads to dial in their nutrition and training, essentially breaking free of the dad bod epidemic and prioritizing health again. Does that kind of sum it up in a little nutshell there?
Yeah, it's perfect. Exactly.
Perfect. So tell us about you. Tell us about how you got started on this path, where Level Up Dads originated from. Just take us through a little history lesson of yourself and Level Up Dads.
Sure. I'll try not to make it too long. Just a quick background on myself. I grew up in a gym that my mom managed in Clearwater, Florida when I was a kid, teenager, high school. Trained with a lot of athletes and pro wrestlers and fun stuff like that. Knowing fitness, some type of coaching or training was going to be in my future. Fast forward 15 years. My wife and I are members at a gym. They're closing. We had the opportunity to purchase all the equipment and kind of start our own gym in that same spot. So that was a little over 6.5 years ago. Things have been going great. We battled through COVID and just steadily growing and getting new members, and it's been a blessing, and it's been awesome, and it's exactly what I was looking for probably for 20 years of my professional life. And so that worked out really well. What I found is we had a noon class that started with a bunch of dads, and we called it the Anti-Dad Bod class. And it was great. And we simplified our training, and we were an accountability group, and we communicate outside of class, and we push each other. And it kind of became my most fun thing to do is train with these guys. And somebody along the way said, why don't you take our program and you put it online for dads that aren't here? Like, we're in a very small village in Wisconsin, just south of Madison, the capital. And so our reach is pretty limited. And we're in person and we have class time. So there's schedule limitations and stuff like that. And so we just kind of, over the course of a couple of years, really took our time to put something together, a package or a program. And we ultimately settled on 6 weeks of video-led, dumbbell-only, so very minimal equipment training program. It's nutrition's built in, accountability's built in, all the materials you could, it's information overload of all the things that will help you progress in your fitness journey. And so it just kind of, snowballed from just a simple idea. And then Level Up Dads, the name came from me sitting with a bunch of dads saying, we need a name for this thing. I want it to be relatable to guys that are our age, 30s to 50s. And we just kind of brainstormed all the things like what can we have in common, sports and video games and golf and all that. And video games kind of stuck. And then we played around with that a little bit and if you play video games, every game you play, you do something, right? And then you level up. You get bonus points. You get whatever experience points. And so the more you do, the better you get. And that tagline there really solidified. We're like, let's call it Level Up Dads. And then everyone was like, aha, that's the name. And then here we are.
I love it. So you kind of always been around the coaching and the fitness industry ever since you were a kid then? You grew up in it, actually. Did you play any sports when you were when you were a younger lad?
Yep. Hockey was my main sport. I kind of dabbled in everything, but hockey was the one that I stuck with and played that up until my 30s. I think, with our first kid. Once we had our first kid, we were kind of like, I need to take a step back and just stick to men's leagues, on Sunday nights.
I like it.
But hockey's been in our lives. All my kids play hockey.
Very cool. Did you play professionally, semi-pro? What was kind of that path you took there?
It's funny you should ask. So we have a league here in the Midwest called the Great Lakes Hockey League, and it's the only men's full contact hockey league, and it's classified as semi-pro single A, but it's not as cool as it sounds. It's not like we're not farm teams of farm teams or anything like that. It's just some classification that USA Hockey put on it. So I can say, yes, I played semi-professional hockey.
I love it. So then you guys bought the gym, bought the equipment, started running it, made it through COVID. I guess Wisconsin was quite a bit different than being in Washington here. Restrictions and rules. There were still some, but not nearly as many as we had out here on the West Coast. But how did you guys end up making it through COVID with everything going on? I'm not sure what Wisconsin looked like, what fitness looked like for you guys.
Sure. It was weird. It was a strange time. I'd say like a good 18 months, 24 months kind of was a blur, right? Like the whole time period was a blur of when there were lockdowns. Like it kind of ramped up, and they were like, that's cool if you want to hang out at your gym, but you have to wear masks. And we're like, all right, we'll deal with that. And then all of a sudden, like 2 days later, they just shut down gyms, salons, all the in-person type services. And up until that point, probably a couple of weeks prior, we started offering virtual classes, so people could join our class at home on Zoom and work out with us still. And so we were able to retain some people that way that weren't comfortable coming into the gym and working out with the mask. And then the shutdowns happened, and it was kind of a seamless transition because we had already set the virtual programming, the virtual workouts up. And so we pretty much stuck to our same schedule. And we just did everything virtually. Like my wife and I would come in and coach from the gym. Other coaches would coach from their basement and their garage and whatnot. But we made that work for whatever. I don't even remember the time frame, like how long we were shut down. I think prior to the shutdown, we had like taped off sections and individual equipment and cleaning supplies and like 7 or 8 stations. Like you stay inside your box. Here's your equipment. Here's your cleaning stuff. Don't touch anybody. Don't touch anything. And that was like a state guideline type of thing, or I think it was a county guideline. So that was nuts. And then we trained virtually, and then we started training outdoors, like just in big fields in our groups. We would come to the gym and we'd grab a bunch of stuff, throw our masks on, grab some dumbbells, go outside in the field, and then we'd do a workout. So we were able to keep things going, but we did, we were, up until that point, we were about 2 years in, and we were just rolling. We're like, this is awesome. We're crushing it. Things are growing. And then COVID came, and it was like, 17 steps backwards. And so we were really just kind of grasping and holding on to what we could. And then summer came along, and some parents, friends of ours with kids, were like, I need something for my kids to do. They've been stuck at home for an entire school year. And now it's summer, so we created quote-unquote gym classes. And we started them outside. It was like Tuesday, Thursdays, and Mondays and Wednesdays, and we had 3-hour blocks. And, kids would come, and we would work out, we would play games, we would do obstacle courses, we had fun. So we had all those kids groups throughout the summer. From a financial standpoint, saved the gym because there's limited memberships, and there's no way we were going to keep operating during COVID. So that's how we made it through COVID.
That's awesome. And so now after COVID, you're well entrenched in the community between kids group. Are those something that still go on today that you still do, or?
No, we actually, one of the cool things about our community is our athletic recreation department, and they provide a ton of opportunities for kids as far as strength and conditioning and athletic training and sports training go. They offer it really, really cheap. It's really big groups. And so it's not that we don't really want to compete with that, and because that's an option, there's just not enough people to keep those classes going. Like we tried to keep the classes going, but then when restrictions were lifted and all this, everyone was back in sports and stuff. They didn't need, gym class anymore. So we took a step back from that and just let our community, our athletics department handle that. It's been good.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So this group of dads, this group that came together of all these dads to create this program, where was it just a random conversation? One random member said, hey, we should formalize this. We should make this a thing. We should put a ring on it. Or was it just a conversation? And then it kind of started off like when two people say, hey, let's start a podcast. And then it turns into something more and the ball starts to roll and roll and roll. And what, if you had to kind of break it down, what was I guess, who was patient zero and what was like patient zero kind of like?
Yeah. I mean, kind of like you said, it was like that noon class with the dads. It just started out with myself and a member of ours who couldn't train in the evening anymore because of his job. And I said, well, I still need to work out. Why don't we just work out together these days at noon? And so we did. And then his coworker joined us, and then we're like, well, let's just make this a class. We'll just call it the Anti-Dad Bods class for fun. And then all of a sudden, all these people were like, oh, I didn't know you had a noon class. Like, well, we didn't. But now we do. So then we got all these dads. I think it was just happenstance that it was a bunch of dads that joined. Like, it wasn't, we didn't advertise it as a dads only class. It was just like, hey, we're working out at noon. If you want to work out with us, join the gym. And just kind of grew from there. And then it was just, I think, like an organic, just in talking every day about what we're doing and the success we've had, and that there's just like, how can we get more dads involved in the simplest way? And so it just kind of, formed itself throughout time of just chatting and, figuring out what's the best way we can reach as many dads as possible.
I love that. So I think I missed it here, but that's my fault. Was this started before COVID or after COVID?
This was after COVID.
It's after COVID. Okay. So what has kind of been some of those things, like you and these other dads doing this class, working together, supporting each other? What are some of those things that you guys are always talking about? The things that always seem to come up, things that we're always trying to work through, those common kind of themes, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Aside from the typical, this kid is driving me up the wall and this kid's doing great and I don't have any sleep. I'd say sleep's probably the big one. We have a range of ages of kids throughout the group, newborns all the way up to teenagers. And so you're losing sleep for something at every age of your kid's life. And so I think that's one of our biggest ones is how do we recover properly from our training without taking too much time out of our day and not stressing about it, right? Like with all the stuff now, cold plunges and saunas and infrared lights and I don't know, a million things that you could do for recovery and all the hot things that are on social media right now. That's really what we talk about is how can we utilize, be efficient in our recovery, sleep included. Cat naps are the way to go. If you want a tip, if you can find 20 minutes in the afternoon to just close your eyes, even if you don't sleep, just close your eyes and like focus on your breath, listen to like, what is it? What's the word I'm looking for? Hypnotizing meditation, right?
Oh, meditation. Yeah. Like hypnosis, meditation, something just relaxing and calming.
Yeah.
White noise, anything like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's huge. And so that's our biggest ticket. Aside from talking about golf and Stanley Cup playoffs, it's how can we effectively utilize our recovery, so we can keep training and be there for our kids and not be like, I have to go to the sauna house for 2 hours now.
Makes
Nobody's got
sense.
time
And
for that.
nobody. And that's so on brand for Wisconsin that you said golf and Stanley Cup Finals. That is probably the most Wisconsin sentence I've ever heard. Except there was nothing mentioned about the Packers or cheese in there, so I'm kind of concerned, just overall
Um,
for you guys.
so it's off season. We're definitely diehard Packer fans. Football's off my radar until football season, and then once the Super Bowl's done, I don't think about football. Just let it go.
Okay. What about your Brewers? What about the Brew Crew?
Brew one, they're hot right now. We like my family and I. If it's a Sunday afternoon and we're chilling, we'll try and catch a game on TV. Maybe get to one game a year, but like most sports, between my wife and I, definitely over the last couple of years, and really, I think it stemmed from COVID, where we're like, this is ridiculous. We're just forcing sports on us and empty stadiums and kids playing hockey with masks on, and we kind of boycotted sports for a little while because we're just like, it's not necessary. There's just too much, and we just realized that like athletic events, watching professional at collegiate level athletic events is an entertainment thing. If I'm entertained and I'm getting some joy from watching this, I'm going to watch it, but I'm not going to let it affect me. When the Packers lose, I'm not going to have a bad day at work on Monday and be like, oh, tough one last night. Like, I don't care. Like, those guys make millions of dollars and they lost a football game. My life goes on regardless.
Right. I still got to make money today.
Yeah, exactly. So we love sports. We love our Wisconsin sports for sure. But I think even the guys in this group can attest to the same thing. It's like it's been put on the back burner and we follow it and we'll talk about it, but it's not, it's not
life.
a mainstay.
It's not life
lives.
when you were 20, 21, something years old, when it was life kind of thing.
Exactly.
No, that makes sense. And it's interesting that you bring up kind of how sports were shoved down our throats during COVID and how empty stadiums, the fan noise being pumped in. Yet there was a famous quote unquote doctor that was throwing out the first pitch at baseball games in Washington, D.C. without a mask on, and then sitting in a suite without a mask on, enjoying the game in person without a mask on, while he's telling everyone else to put a mask on, kind of thing.
Stay home.
And stay home. So just the overall irony of it, something that, of course, now that we're further away, we're into a whole nother election cycle. Everything that's coming out over the last, I don't know, 6 to 12 months has really showed that none of it really made sense. None of it was needed from the beginning. It lies in conspiracy and corruption and control, and we don't have to get off on a whole COVID tangent about all that. Happy to some other day, but not today.
For sure.
So for these dads that are coming and training, the ones that have been committed, the ones that have stayed with it for long stretches of time, what kind of benefits are they seeing? What kind of things have they gained from a program like this overall? I guess so. I work with a coach myself. I work with Dr. Harrell. He's a men's strength and performance physical therapist coach as well. I've been working with him for about, at the time of this recording, a little bit more than a month now. And it has been amazing. It has been fantastic. It's gotten me going again. It's gotten me pain free. It's gotten me to, I lift up my little 3.5-year-old who's a little chunk. She's like 50 pounds and 3.5, and she's 3.5 feet tall, and she's just a monster. To where I pick her up and she just feels light as can be. To where 2-3 months ago she felt heavy. Everything hurt for me. Hip hurt, ankles hurt, just everything hurt. I felt heavy, tired, supplementing all day long, and now being on this routine and these habits, life is just better. So that's me personally. But for the dads that you've worked with that have trained, committed, stayed with it, what are the things that they have gained and are continuing to gain personally, relationship wise, with their kids, with their spouses, and just in life overall.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head with what you're experiencing. That's what, you know. I guess I don't have a percentage, but a good percentage of people that get into a program, an effective program that's working, and you know, you're checking all the right boxes is pretty common. What I'd say, what I've noticed, just from my perspective, in comparison to just other people, other gym members, other people I associate with, friends and whatnot, is their level of commitment to their fitness. Huge. It's consistent. These guys are in here 3-4 times a week, like clockwork. If they're not at class, we're all like, "Where the hell are you?" and texting them and calling them. And they're like, "My boss wanted to golf today." So I'm golfing. Okay. Usually, never we call someone or text someone and say, "Hey, where are you?" And they say, "I didn't feel like coming in." It's always, "My kid is barfing. I'm in the bathroom," or "I had to take a work trip to New York City for 2 days," or whatever. That consistency, which I think a lot of people don't quite get in their fitness routines. Maybe it's because they don't have kids yet. I'm not really sure. Maybe they didn't. I think all these guys kind of hit a point in their life and they're like, "Man, I have to be better. I have to do something to better my health, better my heart, better my mind, my body." And when they got here and they found it and it worked, it just became, second nature. There's no skipping. There's no missing. We have to do it. Otherwise we're going to feel like garbage. And like you said, just overall, like, your body feeling better, your joints feeling better, you're not in pain. That's huge. And we have a ton of guys that come from, all sorts of backgrounds. Didn't do this or that because of a back injury, or that because of a shoulder injury. And we worked around those things, and now they can do everything 100%. And they're like, "You know what? I haven't even realized it, but it's been 5 months and my back hasn't hurt, or I haven't blown my back out once this year." Like I'm one of the back guys. I have a degenerative disc in my lowest vertebrae, so my S1 L7 maybe.
Something like that, somewhere around there.
Yeah, somewhere around there. But it's essentially, it's just slowly deteriorating over time. Like, it's just going away. And my chiropractor and my doctor at the time when I found out were like, "Yeah, well, that sucks. Not really much you can do about it. You could probably do some planks and strengthen your core." And I was like, "Wow, thanks." And so I kind of, this was pre us owning the gym. This was pre me getting back into the fitness world. And so I was really down in the dumps. I was probably 60 pounds overweight. I wasn't working out, throwing my back out all the time, just tired, sleepy, sick. And when, literally the second I started training and picking up weights again, my back has never been blown out. I've never thrown my back out. I've never done anything where I was out for 2 or 3 days, which I used to do all the time, and on pain meds, just so I could roll myself to the bathroom. But I don't remember what that feels like. It's been so long since I've done that, and I'm just using me as one example, but tons of guys with pre-existing injuries and surgeries and new hips, new knees, that thought their training days were over, their beer league sports were over, and now they're back playing softball and soccer and basketball and doing other activities outside of the gym that they wouldn't have been able to do because of the gym. So that's, yeah, I think in a nutshell, just getting ourselves back, whether that's what you were in the past, your former athletic self, or if it's a new you, but becoming that person that you knew you should be, or that you were striving to be. That's the biggest thing, I think, with all of us, and I think every single one of them would agree.
I love that. And there's something just so powerful to when you get yourself back, to when you get your control of yourself back. when you get to not feel pain, and when you feel like, you know what, maybe I will pick up that heavier dumbbell today and try it. Or maybe I will jump on the heavier kettlebell, or maybe I'll turn the resistance up a little bit, because why not? Like, that feeling for me has been like so cool, because it's like, well, yeah, you're recommending 15-pound dumbbells, but those 20s don't look that bad. Or I had the instance today, even while I was at the gym, there were no 20s, and I'm like, I guess I'm gonna try these 25s. But
Yes.
I wasn't scared of them. Like, there was a
Hmm.
part of me when I started all this that was like, I this just looks, man, this is too much. I can't do this. This is insanity. Like, what are we doing? Why are we doing this kind of thing? And now it's like, sure, I'll go and jump on the 25s, and let's do this. Let's do two more reps, or a little extra weight. Like, why not? Why not throw some weight onto this
Why not?
exercise that I'm not supposed to have any? It's just having that, like, feeling back is so empowering, and it's so fun to know, like, oh yeah, well, I'm strong again. Like, I have control. Like, I could probably, if I warm up right enough, I could probably run a little bit if I really wanted to, without damaging myself any or at all, kind
Right.
of thing, where I have those little moments of, like, motivation and energy, like, you know what, I can do that extra thing, or yeah, I can go and lift that heavy box, or yeah, I can go and do that thing without really, not reckless abandon, but it's like, yeah, I'm not going to embarrass myself. I'm not going to feel
You know where
weird
that
or out of place.
translates with us dads is that we can do all those. We have that same mindset now with our kids when they want to go jump on the trampoline, or when they want to wrestle. Play horsey, right? Like, my first kid, when I was actually, I would say when our second kid came, was probably around the time when I was really just, cubicle job down in the dumps, wasn't training, was really overweight. Just looking back at my glory days, it was when they wanted to play, it was me pretending to be dead. You've probably seen the meme before, like pretending to be dead so you can take a little nap for 5 minutes before they pounce on your back again. But it was rough, and I didn't really notice it at the time. Now looking back, it was like, oh man, I was kind of a pile of crap back then, and I'm glad I'm not now. But that's one of those driving factors that really, really motivates me to want to help as many dads as possible, because I've been in that situation. I'm not Joe Schmo, 22 years old, freaking jacked and ripped, and I've been 5% body fat my whole life, and now I'm over here going, if you're overweight, let me teach you how to lose your fat. Those guys don't know how to lose fat. Those guys don't know what it's like to have 3-4 kids crying at night, trying to figure out what you're going to eat, when you're going to work out, your stupid boss. Those guys don't know any of that. They're just a bunch of punks who've been lean their whole life, and then they're selling these programs online. Like, I see most of this stuff all the time because that's the algorithm that works,
Yeah.
right? And
Yep.
it drives me nuts. And then every once in a while, I'll see a guy like me and be like, Dad, hey, Dad, let's lose the dad bod. I came from where you came from. I was 60 pounds overweight, down in the dumps, on the verge of back surgery, got my life back through fitness and training. And it's like, these are the guys we need to follow. Those are the guys, because they know, like, we've been there. We've been exactly where you are. Let's help you crawl out of that.
Absolutely.
That's I don't know where I was going with that, but I got fired up. Got me excited.
No, I love that. And that's so important too. You can't help someone, you can't help a population if you don't somehow relate to that population. So for you, Joe, what was that moment for you when you were that Joe Schmo playing dead? You were tired, young kids. Like, what was that moment for you that kicked your butt into gear?
Good question. Man, honestly, I think rather than like one, I do have an aha that happened that probably pushed me over the edge in a positive way. But I think it was just years, just a culmination of years of me being depressed and unhappy with my appearance and how I felt, and that I wasn't training anymore. And I think it just kind of built up and built up and built up until finally, I was like, let's make something happen. I happened to be in Detroit with some friends. We were going to Red Wings last weekend at the Joe Louis Arena before they tore it down. This is right before I joined this current gym that we now own, but we were members there. And one of my friends was a CrossFitter, good friend of mine. We played hockey together throughout the years, went to college together, and he had been doing CrossFit for like 8 years. And we always gave him crap. I didn't know what CrossFit was. I mean, I knew, but I didn't really know. And we gave him crap the whole trip. Every time we saw a CrossFit gym, we would point it out and like honk our horn and like shout it out the windows, because the joke is, how do you know someone does CrossFit? They never stop talking about it. And so this friend of ours, was like that, but not really. He didn't actually talk about it a lot. We made it way worse than it seems. Anyways, long story short, we're at the hotel. He takes a shower and he comes out in his towel and he's just freaking sculpted, right? Like Greek god looking body. And we're like, man, you get that from that CrossFit stuff you do? And he was like, I mean, lifting heavy weights and doing conditioning definitely helped create this physique. And so it's like me and a bunch of other overweight dads, and we're like, shit, maybe there's something to it. So we were probably on our drive home, and I think I said, hey, that gym your mom goes to is like right down the street from where I live. Can you get me in touch with them? I think I want to start training there. And so it was like a week later, I came to my first class and I was hooked. And it was about a week of that, and I was like, I'm back, baby. And I was severely out of shape, and I couldn't do half the things that I wanted to do. And all these young kids are just smoking me in workouts. I didn't care. Like, I felt good. It was like I was back in high school training with my teammates again. I think that was the biggest thing, is like I felt like I was in high school sports training with my teammates again. I was sore, I was tired, but I felt incredible. And that was probably the aha moments. Like, this is it. This is what I need to be doing. And so I just trained here for 7 months, and then they were going to close the gym, and we're like, can we just buy the equipment and make a new gym? And we did. And here we are.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Mm-hmm. For me, it was definitely like, I was getting to this point where every day I would show up to work and someone different was commenting on how bad I was limping because of my hip. Like, I was going to the chiropractor. I was, trying to get it better. I was trying to recover it. I was trying to let it heal on its own. But I'm like, I'm so tired of everybody saying something. Like, I'm limping. I'm feeling crappy. It's hard to get up from my chair some days. It's hard to be as active as I want to be with my wife and my kids. Like, this isn't it. This isn't what I want. And so I messaged over to my man, and I'm like, hey, I need to do something different. I need to get something going on, because the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And I wanted to be able to go for a walk or go for a run or do something without even, I guess the biggest aha moment was while I was driving one day, I had pain in my hip just from moving my foot between the pedals. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, this has never happened. Either there's something drastically wrong in here, or it's just like my chiropractor keeps saying, there's just a ton of inflammation that just won't go down. And so I needed to make a change. And so I did. And I think that's important, because all of us dads, like, we have to come to a point and draw a line and say, hey, it's time to make this change. Like, how much more do you want to feel like crap? And you don't have to go full-fledged, go from dad bod to absolutely shredded. It's just about, for me, my philosophy is, as long as I continue to start feeling better and better and better and better, and I'm feeling better after every workout, every recovery, every session I do, then I'm good. If I'm losing the weight, if I'm not losing the weight, if I'm gaining muscle, if I'm not gaining muscle, whatever it is, I'm feeling better. I'm walking better. No one has said anything about me limping for weeks now.
Oh yeah.
And it's so nice. It's so nice. And so it's a big difference. But I wanted to ask you about this quote that you put in here for me. You once saw a quote that you've kept with me. that you've kept with yourself, not with me, but with yourself. Sorry, that was confusing. Being a father means being loyal, honest, and strong, no matter if times are good or bad. So, can you expand on this a little bit? What that means to you, what that means to you being a dad now, because you've been in the game of being a dad for 16, yeah, 16 years almost now. So,
Mhm.
and you don't look it. You look great, by the way. See, that's another benefit of
Appreciate that.
fitness is you look great.
We
Um,
started young, so I have that going for me.
that makes sense. I did too. I mean, I was 22 when I became a dad, so
Yeah, we do.
makes it
Nice.
easier too. So,
Yeah, I think really what that boils down to is I mean, there's the obvious, right? Like you have to be there, you have to be present for your spouse, for your kids, even when you don't want to be, right? There's tons of things we don't want to do that we do for our kids. I think my wife and I we'll talk about this all the time is we don't want to go to such and such event for our kids at 7:30 p.m. on a school night. We're like, we want to wind down and get ready for bed because we got a long day ahead of us. And then we'll go and we'll do it, and we'll be like, this was great. Like, I'm glad we were able to be here for our kids. They were happy that we were here, even though they were just like, you can come if you want. And so, that, like I said, the obvious stuff, you have to be there whether you want to or not. Where that translates and what I hold on to is when I can commit to my training schedule, to working out consistently, commit to doing really hard workouts or lifting really heavy or doing stuff that like my brain's like, I don't want to do that, but I'm going to do it anyways. Once you, cold plunges is a good example of the kind of that mental toughness, right? Like if you can sit in 32-degree water, which is freaking freezing. I cold plunge for the soothing benefits of it.
I do
helps
too.
me sleep.
I do too. Yeah, I'll cold plunge for 4 to 5 minutes after my workout.
Nice.
3 times a week after my workouts at the gym. I do 3 gym days and 2 strength and mobility days. Just at home, foam roller, stretching out, things like that. Right now, I'll be upping that to 4 by the end of the month. But on those, I didn't do it this morning because I'm still trying to master and it's going to be easier because summer's almost here, but getting up, going to the gym, being able to have time to do a plunge and a sauna and a shower and get back home and enough time to wake up the kids, trying to master that block of time is not easy. But yeah, no, cold plunge is one of my favorite things. I swear by that. It's so good for you. I assume in the gym there's cold plunges.
We don't have cold plunges here. I have one at home, and we're like in a tiny little box.
Makes sense.
I think our lease says 3,500 square feet, but it's definitely not. But it's manageable. It's literally it's a big square with pull-up bars and weights.
Nice.
What I'd love to have a recovery room. 2-person sauna and a couple of cold plunges. Maybe that's something down the road if we get in a bigger place. But yeah, dude, I've always been one to want to submerge myself in cold water. So like our family's cabins up north, in June the water's freaking frigid, and I would love it. And that's like what I would do. I went out to Montana to visit my mom, and we were at some lake, 8,000 feet up in the mountains, and it was like 32-degree water, crystal clear blue turquoise. And I was like, I have to get in this. Like I can't leave here without getting in this freezing cold mountain lake. And it was the most exhilarating experience of my life. And up until that point, like I knew about cold plunges. I'd taken cold showers and stuff, but like never cold plunged. And so that became the thing, and I was just immediately hooked. I cold plunge at night before I go to bed, which a lot of people are like, doesn't that wake you up? I was like, no, man, it cools. I run hot. A buddy of mine and myself back in high school used to have this saying. We used to say, like, us big guys have a furnace because we're always sweating. We're always wearing cut-off shirts. Like, I run hot all the time. And so when I can get in there and cool down, 3 to 5 minutes and not that cold of water, but it's cold, and I climb into bed and I'm not immediately sweating, and it just feels so good. And then I fall asleep and I sleep like a baby. I learned that with the cold showers, and then the cold plunge just game changer.
See, that makes so much sense because of what the cold shock proteins do to your brain and the dopamine that it provides and everything, it makes a lot of sense to do it at night before you go to bed because all those things are activated in your brain and you're doing that right as you're about to go to sleep. So they kind of just get to carry over into your sleep, into your REM
Right.
cycles, into your overall recovery of doing that. That makes so much sense to do it at night. Most people do it in the morning, like myself, when I'm at the gym. Go in,
Right.
get it done, get it over with, and then I jump straight into the sauna. Um,
Yeah.
I'm a wee little baby boy. I'll do it, I'll enjoy it, I'll get comfy, I'll and do the thing. I've done it where people looked at me like I was crazy because during the wintertime here in the Tri-Cities, it gets cold. And we have an outdoor
Yep.
hot tub that they keep open all year long, or at least for most of the year, except when it's like freezing outside. But we have 2 outdoor cold plunges too. And so when it started
Dude.
to warm up a little bit, it was like maybe 40 degrees outside. And so I went in these cold plunges that were outside. Everyone at the hot tub, because it's an adult only area too, so it's an adult only like hot tub and the plunges area.
Mhm.
Everyone's looking at me like I'm crazy. These dudes are talking to me like, "What are you doing? Why are you doing that?" I'm like, "Get in the other one, and you'll figure it out."
Yep.
But no, there's something different about working out and then doing all these things at night versus the morning, and I don't know. I like them both, but that makes a lot of sense
Mhm.
when you think of chemically and everything that the cold plunge doing it at night. That's genius. I need to get one at home so I can do it at home. I'm waiting for one of these companies just to say, "Hey, let's send you one."
Yep.
That's not a scam.
Right.
So
That's funny. We at least in the Madison area in Wisconsin, we don't have anything that's got hot tubs, cold plunges, and saunas. Like there's some sauna places and there's some hot tub places, but there's like if to find a cold plunge, you have to go to somebody's house. Like, they're just it's not a thing here, and it's gonna be soon because this guy's gonna make it happen. But like we were in Poland for a wedding in October, and every place we went had a sauna and a cold plunge. Like it was guaranteed. We went to a hot springs and it was a giant hot tub in the mountains. It had a bar, had an indoor area, had a kids play area, and then it had like 3 different types of saunas you could go in for different benefits. And then it had a cold plunge, outdoor cold plunge, and it had a snow maker. Like it would just like make shaved ice, and you would like go in the sauna and then you go jump in this ice pile. And even being in Poland where like it's kind of normal for that stuff, everyone looked, so it was myself and my brother-in-law, everyone was like, what are these guys doing? We're just rolling in this ice and then back in the sauna and then back in the cold plunge. And
that's so cool.
it was so awesome. And we need more of that in the States.
100%. And they make these one cold plunges that are like river streams, and so it's a constant stream. The Blue Cube, I think they are, but they're like a constant stream of like the water, so you never get to create that thermal barrier, which you so desperately want. So those are major leagues. Those are major league cold plunges, and I will not be getting one of those because I enjoy my thermal barrier just a little too much to give that up. So
I feel that.
not getting that from me. But for you, when it comes to when you got this control back, when you got back into it and everything, what did that do for yourself and for your family? Like, what did it teach? What has it taught your children? What has it taught you? How has it improved your relationship with your wife and your kids? Like, how has this overall improved things at home for you guys?
Sure. Good question. Yeah, a lot. I mean, so it's hard to really summarize all of the benefits and just it's to the point where it's just normal now. And so when we really do take a step back and think about like, man, remember those days when we were really overweight and out of shape and our bodies hurt and we didn't want to play with our kids, and it's hard to actually remember those days. It was like it never happened, but they were definitely there. I think the best thing with myself and my kids, when I say it, like my wife too, she trains here, she coaches here, she's a badass, and our kids work out. Like we have a 15-year-old, an 11-year-old, and a yep. I'll get a 6-year-old, and they'll come to the gym and they'll make up their own workouts with equipment, and they'll get the chalk bucket out and a whiteboard, and they'll just do their own thing. Like we don't tell our kids to work out. We don't give them a workout program. We're not like, you need to do this and this and this. They just do it. Our 11-year-old, he's got a buddy, a hockey teammate. The last few weeks, they've been meeting like every other day and doing a workout. Like today's leg day, today's core day. Like they're just doing it on their own. And 100% without a doubt, if we didn't prioritize our health and fitness like we do, I don't think they'd be doing any of that. And the way they like to eat garbage, if we weren't conscious about what we were ingesting in our home, they'd probably be really big, overweight, pre-diabetic kids like we're seeing all over the place now. And so it's just, I think it's an intangible benefit to what's come of all of this with us, with my wife and myself.
100%. It makes sense. And you guys set that example for them, you know? It's an example that they see, like they want to be like you because they see you and your wife, their mother, they see like, oh, well, mom and dad are happy. Like they're really into this. Like this brings them joy. Maybe it'll bring me joy. And then vice versa. What happens in those other families where it's not happening? Those kids grow up and be like, yeah, I don't really want to be like my dad. My dad's kind of, he's not the best. I got my things I want to say about him, but kids grow up in one of those two environments where they either want to be like you or they don't want to be like you for whatever set of reasons. And so then they decide those things, and that's what dictates them. And that's where they will live their life and how they will shape their lives to either be like you or to work really hard to not be like you. But then ultimately probably end up being like you in some way, shape, or form regardless. So it's important to set that healthy example for them from the beginning, from whatever that beginning looks like for you, because maybe that beginning is not day 0 when they're born. Maybe that beginning's a few years in. Maybe it's 10 years in. Maybe it's 12 years in. Whatever point you're at, that beginning can start whenever. It's just about starting at day 1. It's just about making day 1 happen. If day 1 never comes, then day 1 never comes.
Right. A plethora of quotes stem from that thought process. There's the one day or day 1, right? Like you can just continue to say one day I'll get better. I'll go to the gym, I'll eat better, whatever. Or you can just say day 1 and start right freaking now. Not tomorrow, not in 10 months, not in 10 years, tomorrow. What's the other quote? The best time to start was yesterday. The second best time to start is now. You said it. Like, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to look like an amazing transformation story. But what it does need to look like, it needs to look like that you, pardon my French, give a shit. And your kids are going to see that. And if they see that you give a crap about anything, they're going to give a crap about stuff. And it's just going to grow and it's going to expand from that. But if you're just come home, make a giant cocktail, sit on the couch, fall asleep at 8 p.m., go to bed, right? They're either, like you said, they're either going to mimic that, right? Come home, play video games all night, go to bed, grow up and do the same thing, or they're going to be like, I don't want to be like that. So you're going to shape them anyways. Might as well give yourself better chances and shape them positively.
Yeah, because we want to raise, and I think this goes across the board for dads at the core of it, we all want to raise good, productive members of society when it's all said and done. We want to raise children who are kind, who are empathetic, who can be sympathetic when needed, who are, I prefer my kid to be outspoken than not speaking at all, that are well-rounded, healthy, smart, kind, productive members of society, because I want my kids to go out and I want them to make a difference at somewhere in the world doing something. I don't care what it is. Make a difference in some positive way to society. Be an impact, be someone and something, and do something that changes the world for the better. Don't be part of the problem. be part of a solution of some kind. Contribute, whether that's with your hands, with your brain, with your talent and abilities, your sense of humor, athletic ability, whatever God-given gifts you have. Go take them and use them. And then if you do that, I will be the proudest, happiest dad on earth, because you're doing exactly what I always hoped and dreamed for you.
Right. I love it.
So, all right, let's get this thing wrapped up here. Before we wrap up, I'm gonna have a few questions for you, but before we get to those questions, I always got to shout out one more brand here at the end of the show, and I'm gonna shout out the Joon app. The Joon app, Joon. Joon app, fantastic. If your kid struggles with habits, routines, morning routines, night routines, hygiene routines, behavior routines, anything at home, at school, in between, anywhere, all the things, guess what? Joon is going to be your new best friend. If your child has ADHD, autism spectrum disorder, pathological demand avoidance, any of these conditions that can affect them and their executive function, Joon has your back. What Joon does, and it takes a video game, which, I mean, what kid doesn't love video games outside of Joe's 11-year-old who was just in the gym like a madman all the time? They all love them. This is a great platform for that, because what you do as a parent is you get to select their daily routines, the things they do Monday through Sunday, and they go in, you create their routines and how much these different things are going to be awarded. Is it a high value thing? Is it a low value thing? You got to put both in there. That's the trick. You mix the high value and the low value things together in one routine. They go, they do, they put that they completed the task. When they complete tasks, the task goes back to you for verification. So this is an opportunity for you as a parent to go and say, okay, time to check. Let's verify. Okay, your room, it's kind of halfway done. It's not great. So let's have a conversation. Do you want to only earn half your coins because you only did about half of it and it's not that great? Or can you correct blah 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 and earn all your coins? Oh yeah, Dad, yeah, let me earn all my coins. I gotta get all my coins. Because I'm trying to play this game, or I'm trying to buy this thing for my. They have like little pets that you take care of, so it's kind of like Tamagotchis, but in 2024, it's really cool. And so then you get to verify every single task, so they don't just get the coins right away. There has to be a conversation, and they have to go through approval. It's great for building habits and routines, long term, short term. Even better part, you can try all this for free. Follow the link down in the description of the episode. Try it for free. If you love it, use the code, get some money off your annual subscription. Fantastic. Kids of all ages absolutely love it. Millions of families, thousands upon thousands of therapists recommend the Joon app, and I'm in each of those numbers myself. So let's wrap up with some few questions here, Joe, shall we? So thinking back to, okay, let's do it this way. Going to the young couple, 20 to 25 years old is what you're thinking. Just had their first kid, they're bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, but scared out of their mind. To the couple, what advice do you have for the couple?
Ooh, man, that is a loaded question, Jay.
We asked the loaded ones here.
Man, I think I could just, if I could get them to understand that anyone that's giving them advice has been in their position before, as annoying as it is to get the advice from the moms and the mother-in-laws and the aunts and the whoever's, the coworkers, they all just want to make your life easier because they remember how crazy it was with that first kid. And being that young and not knowing what's going to happen. And then aside from that, like, one, everything's going to be okay, right? Like, there's, we have three boys, and so each one was a different experience. The middle kid was a super colicky baby, and the first kid wasn't. Like, he was on schedule, on point. It was like, this is what time we wake up to feed him at night. This is what time we wake up to change his diaper. This is what time he gets up in the morning. He naps from this time to this time.
Is he still like that even through today? Very much on point, on schedule?
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
that's cool.
Now that you mention it, Mm-hmm.
Makes sense.
That's funny. And the colicky one is very sporadic. He's just all over the place. He takes off in the morning on his bike, and then we see him at dinner time. Like he's nuts. But he would cry and cry and cry, and we could never calm him down. We could never console him. It was, and we're just like, one of us has him, and we're looking at each other like, well, I don't know what to do. Like I'm freaking out. The other kid was so easy, and now we have this crazy kid. And so for the new parent, like each experience is different. So it's no matter what happens, good kid, crazy kid, scary illnesses and sicknesses, like all those things are going to happen. In the end, everything is going to be okay. And if you can just like harness that a little bit and just know, like, if you're able to tell yourself or be the one to tell your spouse, like, listen, we're going to get through this. It's going to be okay. It's not the end of the world. It's just nuts right now. And that stuff happens, like it goes by fast, right? Like it's over before you know it. All those like sleepless nights and crazy crying babies and diaper blowouts and puking in the car on road trips, like that happens in a very short window. And then it just gets easier is not the right word, but it's
more manageable.
More manageable. Yeah, exactly. So that'd be my best advice is to remember that one, you're not alone. Lots of people have been in your situation. Lots of people want to help you. My wife is very well known as the crazy lady that will grab anyone's baby and hold it for the mom so the mom can have a break. She's like, oh, a baby?
Bless her
hold
heart.
That baby. And
Bless her heart.
She will
Bless
hold
her
strangers'
heart.
babies. It is incredible. She'll be like, do you need anything? I'll bring you coffee, and then I'll hold your baby for 20 minutes. And they're like, yes, please. So there's always someone like that, someone that wants to help, someone that just to like come hang out so you can take a shower, right? Like little things like that. So use those people, use your resources, call your friends, call your family, and be like, we need some help with freaking out, and they'll be there. Someone will come.
Yeah.
And then to relate it to, I want to plug, push the fitness thing real hard here. But
hold on, we're gonna get there. I'm gonna give you a chance here in a second.
Next
question. Next question. You're gonna talk directly to the young father here. A young father, 20 to 25 years old. He's like, Joe, thanks for that advice to both of us, but I need something more just for me. Go ahead and talk to him.
Yeah, man. In one sentence, in one phrase, lift weights. If I was a gun to my head and I had half a second to say something to that dad before they blew my brains out, lift weights. That's it. Like, we can get into detail later with your coach. You figure it out. But like, we all need, all us dads, moms too, but like dads, we need that, kind of like you said, like just that raw environment where we can do hard things. We can pick up the 25s because someone else is using the 20s, and we start rewiring our brain about things that are hard and manageable and that we can get through any tough situation. And when you're doing that with weightlifting and training and conditioning, it makes parenting way easier. And so that guy that needs something, what he needs is to carve out 30 to 60 minutes. If 30 minutes is all you have, then that's all you have. When you're a new young dad or a new old dad, I guess, one thing you have to like understand is that this is not peak performance time. You're not going to be training like you're an athlete. You're what we call GPP, general physical preparedness, right? So we're just kind of staying fit enough to survive life, right? Like we might not be doing PRs in our back squat and our bench press or whatever, but we're building some muscle, or at least maintaining our muscle mass, hopefully burning some fat, but just moving our bodies and keeping that blood flow going, right? Feed your brain by moving your body. And then again, nothing's ideal. Like it's never going to be a nice little box where it's like, okay, I'm a new dad. Hey babe, I'm going to work out these 4 days at this time for 30 minutes or 60 minutes. Like, that's not going to work, right?
Mm-mm.
So it might be Monday morning, you have to get up and do push-ups and squats in your garage at 5 a.m. before you go to work. It might, if you stay at home, maybe the kid's sleeping and it's noon, and now you need to, pick up some dumbbells and work out for the 20 minutes before the kid wakes up and you have to feed him again. It's never going to be easy or simple, but if you try to make it perfect and neat and pretty, you're just going to get disappointed because it doesn't work that way. Nothing works that way when you have new kids at home. But if you make fitness your priority, you'll fit it in somewhere, right? You have a baby carrier with the freaking straps, do some squats, right? Like, the baby will think it's fun, and you get some added weight and some resistance when you're doing squats. Simple.
Yeah, get those air squats in. Those air squats are life-changing. Get those air squats in, because that air squat translates into you squatting down, picking up your kid, and it translates. Every movement that you do in the gym, everything that you do, strength, mobility, stretching, everything translates to something that you're going to be doing with your child. So it's important to do all those things and learn how to do them well and do them over and over again, so you have those dad muscles, I guess, ready to go whenever they're called upon, because they're going to be called upon. They're going to be called upon a lot. So I guess just last question here. Go ahead and give us like your closing wisdom here. Any last pieces of advice that you want to leave for the listeners? And then after your last piece of advice, go ahead and tell the listeners where they can find more of you and keep up with you.
Great. I had a couple notes. I like to say lots of things, and it's hard for me to really boil down all my thoughts into one quote or one paragraph or something.
Yeah.
So I have a quote from Jocko Willink, right, the former Navy SEAL, written books. He's crazy, works out, motivation, trains guys. He's got 4 kids. Yeah, he's got 4 kids. He said, I saw it heard it on a podcast somewhere along the way, and I wrote it down, and I kept it with me. And it's, your kids and your family are more important than you. And it's, on the outside, that might look like we're saying neglect yourself and focus on your wife and kids, or your spouse and your kids. But what that really means is, number one, that they need you to be at your best. And so in order to do that, you need to prioritize your health and your fitness, physical health and mental health. I think that's a big one. Getting your head straight, whether that's a psychiatrist or a therapist or a noon gym class 3 days a week with some dudes that are in the same situation as you, and you can just talk and realize that you're not alone. That's probably the big thing. Your world is a lot bigger now that you have kids, but you need to be in the world. So in order to, help me help you, you need to help yourself so you can help them.
Most definitely. I love that. And then where can the people keep up with you? Where can they find more of you? Where can they keep up with you, talk to you, all those things?
Sure. I'd say social media is the easiest way to get in touch. I don't know if you can do links and stuff. We could throw
all the link
in there. Instagram's probably my easiest place that I play the most. So messages on Instagram. It's Level Up Dads. There's an underscore in between all the words. Blue logo with an arrow and a Level Up Dads. I don't think there's many Level Up Dads accounts out there, so should be easy to find. And then the link that's in our profile goes right to a page that talks about our 6-week. We call it a hero challenge, right? Be the hero of your story. One of my favorite. I'm a quote guy. One of my favorite quotes is "Do main character shit." It's like, what in the movie of your life, what is the main character doing? I don't know. I think Joe Rogan says that maybe. There we are. Coach Joe, Level Up Dads. So get, check that out. If anything, just follow the page. It helps us reach more people. And that's our goal. We're very new. We don't have a ton followers, but we have a small group of guys in our group, and we want to help as many dads as possible. That's bottom line. We've been there, and we want dads, number one, to know that they're not alone, and number two is that they can get better, and whatever better looks like to them, but they can get better. This isn't the end of the line. You're not going to be injured and overweight and tired the rest of the next 18 years of your life. You can turn it around. Yeah, there it is. Cool. So there's an option to just sign up for it, or you can, I think at the bottom, you can reach out and then we can schedule a time to chat.
I'm getting there. Getting there. Sign up. Contact. All the things that you need right there. It's awesome. Great program. 6 weeks, such a short time, but I mean, programs like Joe's, they're unique, they're individualized, they're there to help you, they're there to help you get the control back. And so it's so important for you to take control back. And guess what? The best thing about working out is that you can listen to podcasts while you're working out. And it's super cool. You can do both. So you can listen to the show while you're working out. I listen to all my favorite podcasts while I'm working out at the gym, while I'm stretching. I do those things because I killing two birds with one stone. You don't have to sacrifice podcasts. At least you will have to sacrifice TV time, maybe some movies, maybe some Netflix, maybe the Clip documentary on Hulu, maybe whatever new docu-series is out on Netflix you'll have to sacrifice. But those things will come back to you, and they'll come back to you better than you left them before. And they'll be so worth it, and they'll be so much better, and life will just be better. So with that, Joe, thank you so much for joining me this evening. Today, whatever time of day it is you're listening, thank you to all our listeners for being here today. It's much appreciated. Wherever you're at, whatever you're doing, thank you. If you're on Instagram, if you're not Instagram, if you're on Spotify, if you're on YouTube, or Apple, whatever platform you're listening to this on, please go ahead, do the things that you can do to support the podcast. Like, subscribe, leave reviews, leave 5 stars, do all those things that you can. Go give Joe a follow. If you're not following the show already on Instagram, go over to our Instagram, follow on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, Twitter, Pinterest, all the places that you can follow. Show your love, show your support. It means a ton, and it helps a ton. So with that, Joe, thank you so much again. Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you next time right here on the Young Dad Podcast.
Thanks, Jay.